The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
It's the summer of 93 at 30.
Welcome to the Brandon Peters Show and the penultimate episode of the Summer of 93 at 30 series, which is a weekend by weekend look at the movies released during the summer of 1993. As always, with me from the rap, it's Scott Mendelson.
Always a pleasure. I'm not sure why I'm day glow at the moment, but looks cool.
Yeah, the Spotify listeners appreciate that description. And
this can is not purple. It's actually blue in real life.
Oh.
This podcast is sponsored by Zevia. Zevia, please send me more because they're expensive.
Oh, okay. What are they? Are they a sparkling water drink?
It's a healthy soda thing that actually isn't terrible for you. It doesn't taste like club soda like so many of the other ones do.
I love Spindrift, but my wife's like, can we stop it with those? Those are really expensive. So
instead of sugar, does Zevia have stevia?
Yes.
There we go. And that voice, the expert on the stevia in the drinks, is a writer for We Live Entertainment, also the senior editor, also writer for Wise Blue and Variety, and hosts Out Now with Aaron and Abe. Hello, it's Aaron Neuwirth.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy we've got our joint gift certificates to capoeira lessons. That's really going to come in handy by the time we finish this whole episode. So let's do this.
Here we go. All right, we're going to get into it because we have 5 films today from the weekend that was August 27th through 29th
Too many.
of 1993. Scott says too many. I say maybe he's probably right. That's a lot. I think we did.
We've done 4. We've done 1 or 2 4s.
We've done many 4s.
Many 4s.
But Scott, at summer 82, we had 1 weekend with 5, right? Or 2, like it just so happens.
Look, since I had my 3rd kid, I've had the short-term memory of a goldfish. I don't remember.
I feel that.
I read his reviews. I've seen, yeah.
Yeah. I used to pride myself on my memory, and then children, and then none.
Some of us still have youthful agency to keep those memory claims.
There we go. Aaron is here to keep us in place.
Never have kids.
Your complaints about Scott and I not remembering things from few episodes back have been answered with us adding Aaron to this series. So there you are. So, all right, we'll start it off as we always do with the news.
When I wake up, don't you know I'm gonna be the man who brings the news to you.
Collegiate Baseball Magazine's editor calls it a masterpiece, the best drill video ever produced. This video is endorsed by top professionals like superstar Fred McGriff.
This is the instructional video that gets results.
The Defensive Drills video benefits players of all ages and ability levels and makes a great gift too, so call now.
Who died?
Oh, you want to start there?
Sure.
Actor Charles Scorsese died this week. Actor Dorian Corey, Countess and actress Renee Ray, a U.S. activist in South Africa was murdered. Her name was Amy Beale, and actress Edwina Lewis. Those are the deaths this week. But
none of those are funny.
Edwina is not a name you hear these days.
While people were mourning on August 23rd, Fred McGriff and David Justice become the 6th pair of players to hit back-to-back home runs twice in the same game.
Oh, okay.
Remember David Justice? He was a big deal back. He dated Halle Berry, right? They were a thing.
Just remember he had a cool name.
Yeah.
David Justice.
Justice. And Fred McGriff, the crime of it was a crime dog. No, the crime bat or something. They called him something like McGriff the crime dog. He was McGriff the crime.
They related him to because his name was slightly similar.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Is he even from Chicago?
No, I don't think so.
I'll take a bite out of baseball.
On August 23rd at the breakfast table in the Mendelson house, they were talking about the New York Dow Jones Index reaching a record high of 3,638.96 points. It's one of Aaron's earliest memories was reading that in the paper.
And that's why I work in business today.
There you go. On August 24th, Mars Observer comes closest to
Hey.
Mars.
All right.
Who would have thought? 2 days later, on August 26th, Ernest Shonnekan
Saves Christmas?
is appointed
It's serious,
interim.
stupid.
Well, he is appointed interim president of Nigeria by General Ibrahim
Gross.
Babangida.
He goes to Africa.
Yes. All right. Finish this sentence. On August 27th, the Rainbow Bridge connecting Tokyo's Shibara and the island of Odaiba is
Horrifically destroyed by Godzilla?
Becomes the scene of a horrific, catastrophic Mario Kart adventure.
completed. All right. All right.
I like ours better.
With the help of Godzilla.
Yeah, with the help of Godzilla. Yes.
Wait, how does Godzilla help build a bridge?
He's not always a villain, Scott.
He
Come
is.
on.
Yeah.
This is the Heishi era right now.
Does he even have opposable thumbs? I don't pay that much attention.
He has,
Oh,
for one thing, yes. And he has he can accomplish things.
I should have asked Ethan. He'd know that.
all right. And August 29th, at the 93rd U.S. Golf Amateur Championship, the winner is John Harris.
Good.
Mazel tov.
I was rooting.
All right. And Born. This week we have two biggies. One Direction's Liam Payne
The other one.
and actress Keke Palmer.
Yeah.
Keke. There we are.
I
That
thought it was gonna be like
is-
another One Direction member. I was like, oh, that's weird.
Nope. No.
Was it Niall?
What?
Was it Niall?
Niall, yeah. So yeah, that's the news for this week.
The news.
And we will move on to our first of 5 films. Would anybody go 5 for 5 on not seeing these before?
No.
What are these movies? Let me remind myself what we're talking
Hey,
about.
I have a short-term memory.
No, yeah,
gentlemen.
I
Oh
have-
yeah. What was a short-term memory, huh?
I had because I'd seen the
I can do whatever I want with my day.
I
have a
watched
memory.
it. I watched him last week, which was a long time ago. We're talking short-term memory.
Yes, I had seen the one because I'd seen it.
Okay.
But
All
yeah,
right.
not
So
you?
I'd seen a pair of them.
Okay.
But one was so long ago, like both of them were so long ago, they were fresh almost. So we will begin with a little bit of action in Only the Strong. So Scott, you got to sit this one out. All right.
Oh.
It's called capoeira.
You ready to try this yet?
It started in Brazil.
I want you to turn that music up.
Now the beat is sweeping America.
I like that.
It moves to a power all its own.
This is a Jenga. You can't Jenga, can't fight.
And it's turning the toughest kids in Miami
You had a job you were supposed to do last night.
into
You
heroes.
don't own this neighborhood no more.
Only the strong. Rated PG-13.
Directed by Sheldon. Oh, yeah, The Strong. Directed by Sheldon Lettich. This is a Van Damme guy. He did Lionheart,
Yeah.
Double Impact, The Order, The Hardcourse, and he writes Legionnaire and Bloodsport, and then polishes scripts for The Quest and Second in Command. So when Van Damme went for Hard Target, he's like, you gotta sit this one out, Sheldon. Here, take this one I don't want to do, and we'll do it here. But he also wrote Rambo 3 and 2015's Max.
Van Damme could have been good in this movie. I like in this role. I could see him working it.
It is 100% one of his movies. Like you can tell.
Yeah.
Like you just like yoinked him out and put someone else in. It's written by Sheldon Lettich and Luis Esteban and stars Mark Dacascos, Stacey Travis, Jeffrey Lewis, Paco Christian Prieto, Todd Sussman, Jeffrey Anderson Gunter, and Richard Coco. Special Forces soldier Louis Stevens returns to Miami to find his former high school overrun by drugs and violence. A master of the Brazilian martial art, Coopera, Stevens pledges to straighten out a dozen of the school's worst students by teaching him this demanding and highly disciplined fighting style. Okay, this is Military Vet Beats Up Students, the movie.
It's a subgenre, if we're being honest.
Yeah, so, Scott, only the strong.
I had not seen this one before. I think it's actually pretty fun for the first half, where it feels like a kinder, gentler version of like, what was it, Class of 1989 that we watched?
Yeah, 1984, Class of 84.
Oh, wow,
yep,
Jesus.
Yep. There's a sequel called Class of 1999 to it.
Fair enough. That's what I'm thinking. This one obviously isn't nearly as dystopian.
Mhm.
And there's a certain charm in him winning over the children and doing his thing without being, a jerk about it. But I do think that the second half, and more so the last third, just almost by default, it's like it sort of trips into formula. It's like, oh, there's going to be a big fight, and it's going to be about who has the most members on their army, so to speak. And again, the movie is what it is. I wasn't expecting anything particularly groundbreaking. I enjoy him. He's somebody that pops up now and then, but obviously he was the bad guy in John Wick 3.
He's got a really solid career. Like I looked
he's
it
done
up, I'm like,
ton of stuff,
like quality things.
Chef. Let's not forget this.
Yeah. He looks
And,
at this age, he kind of looks like a faux Brandon Lee at this point.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, why didn't they
Yeah.
call him up for The Crow?
Could have both been in Double Dragon, since they got your cast.
Yeah.
They couldn't have gotten Lee apparently for that one.
Right.
They needed Scott Wolf.
True.
But yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to oversell the film. It's not good, and I think it ends in a very generic, relatively uninspiring fashion. But it was a pleasant time killer for 90 minutes. I liked seeing him in a major lead role, and considering this whole, hard-ass Thames delinquent high schoolers thing really was a genre in the 80s and 90s. This one is a not terrible version of that.
Gotcha. Aaron?
This one is a terrible version of that. The idea of stand and deliver, except it's capoeira instead of calculus. I was amused at the idea of it, and I can agree with Scott that the first half is entertaining. I'm at a point where, like, when you have a story like this that doesn't require a certain element, and then they throw that in, I'm like, there we go. And it's always guns and gangs. And it's like, even I get inner cities, whatever, like, okay, was this inevitable? Maybe, but at the same time, it's like, this is not a movie that needed to end with gangs and guns and them being like, okay, we gotta stop this guy because he's a bad element in the school, and the only way to do it is using our teacher and the skills of capoeira that we've learned over the course of the year to impress our vice principal, who's a real hard ass about these kids. This is a nonsense movie. I'm not against nonsense movies, but it's really badly acted. Like, there's some very, very bad performances throughout this thing that it kept me from engaging in a way where it wasn't like getting me to the point where, like, this is fun because of how bad it is. It's just more of like, no. Just they had the skeleton of this thing and just kind of inserted people in here that were available, and it trods along. Good soundtrack. I enjoyed the since they had capoeira, they're like, let's have soundtrack that reflects the fighting style or what have you. And it's big Jeffrey Summer right now too, because Jeffrey Lewis is in this one and another movie from this week that we're going to talk about. So I was like, that's exciting. A real Lewis family going on here this summer, since Juliette Lewis is around in other movies. So we got Jeffrey Lewis coming in here trying to lend some authority to this thing, but this isn't Stand and Deliver. This isn't Lean on Me. It's maybe better than High School High, I guess, but this is not a good movie.
I don't know.
Wait, are you sure?
High School High is way better than this.
Okay,
I don't know. Stand and Deliver, and it's a tough one.
It's probably better than Dangerous Minds.
Yes, and that's perhaps why I was somewhat charitable toward it.
Doesn't have as good of a song, but yeah, this is This is a real mess around. I can't even say like Dragowski's a guy who's very capable at doing martial arts. I can't say this movie is really for a guy that's directed lots of Van Damme films. I can't say this is a movie that really highlights his ability, which is a shame. He certainly does moves, but I mean, this isn't the movie that's gonna wow you with what Dragowski is capable of.
Yeah. I'm just gonna bag on this movie some more, I guess. But this felt like you could just tweak a couple things. This could be like the unnecessary like origin story movie for that character from Street Fighter named DJ. Like Street Fighter. Like they did Street Fighter Chun-Li and like Street Fighter DJ. This would be what just flip some things around.
If it was like the Miguel Nunez Jr. version from the movie, sure, yeah.
Yeah, change the main character, the setting to like what, the Bahamas or something. Is that where DJ's from?
Jamaica.
Jamaica. Get it through. And I was just like weirded out when it first started because I was like, whoa, he's like beating up kid, like that's okay. He's like really kicking kids and all that stuff.
Coming.
He's got to teach kids. He's got to teach them.
He's got to teach them.
Capoeira.
He's like the calmest dude in the world, like there's nobody engaging here. I mean, I was neat to see like what's her name? Stacey Travis. Like I was like, oh, okay, her with a big lead role where they're just like, ooh, look, the hottest teacher in town. Hey, that woman's coming with me. All this stuff. Okay. That's where we're at here. None of the action's good, or the fights. Like, if at least had that, that'd be something. But I don't know. I'm just like, gosh, like Miami Connection's better than this.
Well, Miami Connection's better than a lot of things, Brandon.
It is better than a lot of things, but like it wins in the music. I mean,
it definitely wins.
Maybe even the action,
loyalty, honesty.
Yeah, maybe the action even like the characters are more lovable and engaging. Like
they're definitely more lovable.
Yeah.
Is this a Miami Connection podcast all of a sudden?
Yes, we can
I
just
need
go
to watch that apparently.
Yo, you haven't seen Miami Connection?
I keep meaning to, and it's really kept falling off.
It's a joy.
I'll put it on my list.
Treat yourself. I'm jealous you get to watch it for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah. There's no cool, like they're in Florida, but it looks like the desert a lot of the time. Maybe it's just the copy I had to watch, but like this is some drab shit. Like, I don't know.
That's good because it's like this could be an LA thing, and you're like, okay, like urban drama, but it's like this is Florida. Like what?
This is Florida, and yeah, there's a Florida that wants to be like Jamaica or the Bahamas or something like that. I never really feel the Florida-ness in it. I don't know. They had some cheap places to film this. Like
they needed more anti-Disney signs in the background.
Yeah, places that are like school. Yeah, places that are like school, but this is like abandoned places they got for cheap to film in and didn't fill them up much. And like I don't know. Yeah, these characters, like the actors, they suck. Like I don't know. I have nothing to say much more about this than you guys have already gone through. And yeah, I don't know. It does feel like it feels like something that's there, like a first draft of like something for Jean-Claude Van Damme, maybe, but he already did like Lionheart and shit. So like that covers this ground. So
well, Scott, I'm glad it made your top 10 for the summer, though. That's great.
Yeah, like
yes, by default.
Happy for you.
I mean, whatever. I don't disagree with anything you said. It just, I guess I was just exactly the right mood.
Yes.
I'm always in the right mood. This is just a bad movie. It's not my fault. It's the movies that are wrong.
It's the movies. Yes. Oh gosh. But Aaron, are you in the mood for love? As we move on here, we're gonna leave Only the Strong behind and move on to The Thing Called Love.
Her name is Miranda.
Miranda Presley.
No relation.
She works in a world of wannabes and hopefuls.
How do you like Nashville so far?
I'm writing a song about a waitress who kills herself.
She sings in a world of her dreams.
Your song is a novelty song, and maybe you need to dig in a little deeper.
And you are so worried about turning out like everybody else.
You will never, ever make it as a songwriter.
My name is Miranda Presley, and maybe I haven't yet, but someday I will write a song that'll make you regret you ever said it.
You got a thing or two to learn about me, baby. 'Cause I ain't taking it no more, and I don't mean maybe. You don't know right from wrong. The love we had is gone. So blame it on your lying, cheating, cold dead beating, two-time and double dealing, mean mistreating, loving hard.
One dream that comes true can change your life forever.
Look out, Music City! 'Cause I'm here now and I ain't never leaving!
The thing called love.
Which is directed by Peter Bogdanovich, written by Carol Heikkinen, starring Samantha Mathis, River Phoenix, Dermot Mulroney, Sandra Bullock, KT Oslin, Anthony Clark, Pam Tillis, Trisha Yearwood, and others as themselves. There's some other, there's some stars in here like Trisha Yearwood and such. It's about a group of newcomers to the country music business that seek love and stardom. Just like Aaron. So we'll let Aaron start here.
I wrote down alternate titles for some of these.
Did only the Strong have an alternate title?
Stand and Capoeira.
All right.
This one, I have
not like Dangerous Kicks or whatever.
I have The Last Honky Tonk Show. This isn't a good movie either. It's got better acting in it by default because there's better actors in it. I'm always down for Dermot. Bring Dermot Mulroney in here. Sorry, yeah, no, I'm right. I was just like, I didn't confuse him. This is the kind of thing where like I have no interest in this kind of story, like as far as what it's doing. It's not my music, so I'm not like connecting with it in any way. I'm just trying to see like, okay, can Samantha Mathis and River Phoenix make a thing of it? And this kind and it bless them for trying, but like this story just kind of sagged for me. I just kind of kept watching, like waiting for something to happen. And it's like I like that I can admire that it's low key as far as the stakes are really low. There's no high stakes in here whatsoever. There's thankfully not like we need guns to spice this up at the end. Like that was nice. I was worried. I kept being worried. It's like, is there some kind of like dramatic twist going to take place that really throws us off? It's like, no, that's not the thing. And then like having like young Sandra Bullock in here also, which is weird to say for 93, but like her being like, fourth build or whatever is like, oh, okay. But it's just I just wasn't very engaged by this movie. And I was hoping to be a bit because like, well, this is River Phoenix is like his last completed film, right?
Yep, he dies 2 months later on Halloween night, and this is his last completed movie. His final performance in Dark Blood would be released in 2012.
Well, I got confused by the release date on this one. I was curious why this week is the movie's date, because it seems like it came out a variety of times. But regardless, you chose it. You put it on here, so we're doing.
Well, no, this is its actual widest release, but it went limited first, and they were hoping to expand it, but it did so poorly they just.
Yeah, it's like known for like Paramount's like lowest grossing movie of the year. Or
it was the most unprofitable movie of 1993.
Okay, because I read Ebert's review and it didn't come out till like January 94. So I'm like, what's going on with this thing?
If I recall, they opened it.
I assume for awards
consideration. Southern, quote unquote limited platform release. They were going to take it wider after the summer, but then Phoenix died.
Yeah. And I can see this is here nor there. I can see the issue as far as like how do you deal with that. All of that said, getting back to the Phoenix factor, I don't think he's that good here. I feel like there's a lot of strain coming from him that could be related to the various issues he was going through.
Bogdanovich said that he was struggling on set.
That's not surprising.
So,
I mean, it feels apparent in a way that didn't make me feel great. Where I'm like, this is sad. Like watching this and like knowing there's like probably some trouble happening. I mean, you guys go. We could expand more on this, but yeah, I wasn't digging it.
No, I agree. I think River Phoenix, who I always thought was a fine actor, he's the one character in this film I don't particularly care for all that much. Partially that's because he's kind of a
he's a cocksure asshole. Like that's
he's a jackass.
Yeah,
and you keep
thinking, no, the one talented character.
Get away from him. But the film is slow. It's not particularly engrossing overall. There were individual scenes and individual moments that I quite enjoyed. Sure. Obviously, most of the musical numbers are quite, compelling. Like there is, it is unfortunate that country music has become associated with a certain political bent because there is a sincerity and gee whiz value that I occasionally enjoy. That being said, it is fun seeing Sandra Bullock in a very, very early role. And it's fun seeing Dermot Mulroney in a very earlier, not super early, but early role. And it's like all three of them deserve to be the focus more than River Phoenix's character. And to be fair, it is Samantha Masson's movie, but the entire time it almost feels like, and this is intentionally hyperbolic, but he's almost like the villain of the picture. But to a certain extent, because of the kind of movie it is, like, are we supposed to hope that they eventually patch things up and get together?
Yeah.
And slight spoilers, they don't. But, by that point, the movie's over. And all you're left with is, broken dreams and what could have been. Without being too obvious, there's a case to be made that she should have been with Mulroney and that would have been a better match and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, it's not a particularly good film. There are things about it I like, but not enough to, give it the metaphorical thumbs up.
Yeah. I guess I liked more of this movie than I didn't. Watching it, I'm not a country music fan by any means, but I do enjoy, watching Peter Bogdanovich films. And I like the city of like Nashville, which is odd because it's honky tonk country, but that's not my like scene, but it's a pretty cool city, fun visit for a weekend or whatnot to go see because there's a lot of fun stuff there. It's a cool vibe. And this is an interesting story, up and covers in the music industry, whether it be any genre can be compelling. But I think this one of the things, it falls into that 90s, like young people romance movie problems where the girl always likes that totally problematic shithead because he's cool or played by the cooler actor. And this is like the reality bites syndrome. Is what I can call it.
Yes.
Where we all are sitting here like, oh, fuck this guy. No. And the problem is, I'll say that, yes, females are allowed to make the mistakes. They're allowed to do the, must love dogs, whatever. They're allowed to do that. They're allowed to, go for what they want. But like, in our sense of movie enjoyment, it's weird because Samantha Mathis and River Phoenix were an item. She's got better screen chemistry with Dermot Mulroney. Their scenes are much more engaging and better to watch. And he seems like the type of guy, but I guess we're trying to show us like he's easy to win. So he's not a challenge to her and she wants to challenge herself musically and romantically. And this guy seems like he's got it when he doesn't got it at all, but you're an idiot. You got hoodwinked by him or something. But like, I don't know, like, there's something there, and Dermot Mulroney's very good in this movie. Like this is like
I like Mulroney a lot.
He of him or Dylan, I know which one's which because one can act, and they all perform their songs in this movie. They wrote many of them as well, which I think is a neat factor. But
Mulroney's like an accomplished cellist, if I'm not mistaken, too. Like he is he has a very high musical background to begin with.
Yeah, and Sandra Bullock's got some interesting story going on in the background that you kind of just keep getting. Like, can we focus on her for a moment just so I can figure out what's going on? They have this like hotel that like they live at, or motel that could only exist in a freaking movie. Like I want to stay at a hotel that's like, what kind of room am I getting? That's bullshit. Like, I don't know that exists. And if it did, they wouldn't be able to afford staying in there. But there's some compelling stuff about her being in Nashville, but it seems like the movie's so focused on one little street when she would be trying to get herself everywhere rather than just this little diner.
It amused me that the diner was like the Tonight Show or Saturday Night Live, as far as these musicians, they have one shot. If they get on that stage, it's going to propel them to start.
Yeah.
It's like,
okay. Well, I mean, there's funny stuff like
epicenter of their universe.
Like her and Dermot Mulroney recording a demo and then like, breaking into Trisha Yearwood's car to put the cassette in it. That's fun stuff. There
should be more of that. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, here's a fun segment of this movie. Like, why is this not the movie? Like, just do this.
Yeah, trying to get your music out there. And it ends up being like, oh, River Phoenix. And he's just like, there's nothing, like, they're doing stuff. You're like, no, stop it.
Like, his introduction in this movie is, I suck. And like, there's no variation on that. Going after him.
You're right.
Even to the end. We're like, I think she's being smart and being like, nah, we're getting fucking divorced, dude. I'm sorry, we're getting divorced. But then like they all leave happy, and I'm like, the hell's happening here? Like, okay, like, I know it's weird. Like, there's a lot of people just kind of mishandled and stuff, but like, I really enjoyed the actors. I enjoy watching when it's focused on being the music movie it's supposed to be. It's really good. And when it has the right people linked up together, it's pretty good. I mean, there's like I said, the music stuff. Why isn't she getting out more? But like, why aren't we spending more time in the diner focusing on the dynamics inside there and the people working and playing? Why are we spending too much time dicking around in hotel rooms and other enclosed places and small street diners? It's like, I don't know. Like it's or we're going to that stupid party where she bails on Dermot Mulroney to like hook up with River Phoenix. Like I don't know. Like it's like, hey, you're on to nope. Why is this the interesting stuff? Because
it started out with a little promise too, because I can admire like Samantha Math, Big Sammy Summer, by the way. I can admire that when she first performs, it's like notably bad. It's like, because that shouldn't be easy for an actor to do.
Right.
Like, it seems like a challenge to, like, if you know how to play, you know how to sing, and you have to make yourself not ring true to the people judging you. Like, that's a good trick to pull off as a performer.
Right.
And I like that's exactly what you're saying as far as like that would be interesting to see with this diner group, to see like more of these people like have a reason to get why they're not getting picked to go on that show and explore. And you can do that by being at the diner or seeing them attempting other things in different areas, but it doesn't do those choices. It doesn't make those choices. Instead, it wants to focus on these, trite relationship story beats that just don't supply much of interest.
And there's something to be said about the person who goes from New York to Nashville and then can't make it. Like, you would think they'd, there's like a story to be had with the ego of coming from the biggest city to go like, well, I'll just go down here and not being able to cut it there. And that should be driving her nuts, from an ego standpoint. I don't care who you are. You go there and like, you think like, well, I'm from New York. Well, I'm in a much tougher place for that stuff. And then she goes to Nashville and she's nothing. And that should weigh on her a lot. Like, there should be stuff with that.
This really could have used a scene of John Travolta and Scott Glenn greasing up and fighting over a bull riding contest.
There we go.
I do think it's for what it's worth, it is another testament to what an undervalued but consistently terrific character actor Mulroney's been for 35 years.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at his filmography, he's done basically everything, and he's always at least moderately compelling, give or take the material.
And I buy him as a potential country music star. I'm like, that's my God, that's perfect.
I buy her too. The only one I don't buy
yeah.
is River Phoenix.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and his music doesn't even. It's barely country. Like a lot of the stuff he's doing.
It's more. You can tell. That's why the first song he plays, it's like energetic and like you get it. And it's like, okay, this guy has he's got a flash in the pan sort of talent. Like I don't know why he's still here. It seems like he would have moved out a long time ago, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, and there's some good like Sandra Bullock just being this like kind of dipsy but brutally honest lady there. Like when she's like, man, like if you can't, if you're still struggling with something, what am I even doing this? And she's like, sorry, no offense, but she's like, I get it, because you're better than me and you can't even do stuff. So
I like that her conclusion is, I'll try acting.
Yeah. She's like, I'll try acting. I'll go to LA. And she's got that boyfriend who's like just kind of like drunk and in the background a lot of the times and oddball, but yeah. Like, why is she okay? What's she doing with him? But it's funny when she's in a tragic relationship. But we gotta root for River Phoenix and Samantha Mathis to go on.
I was trying to think of where this is with Bogdanovich. It's like not to say he's fallen off dramatically, but he's doing
TV movies at this time.
Yeah, because he was like To Sir with Love 2 around the same time. Speaking of classroom dramas.
Yep.
But yeah, the better days of him are well behind him at this point. But
he's he's writing a lot right now. Like I think this is around the time the book was it Who the Devil Made It?
Okay.
Yeah, I got that book around because when I was starting to film, someone bought me that that huge freaking book that he wrote. But he was starting to slide into his role as a more historian, showing up in interviews, and DVD was going to be his bread and butter for a long time.
I can see his interest in doing something like this. I can see this connects to his kind of themes of stories.
Yeah, I mean this fits with like your Last Picture shows and others that because there's a country vibe that now he's looking into the music of it. But yeah, and there's some Daisy Miller stuff here too. But yeah, I like I've not like seen everything. I've seen the essentials of Peter Bogdanovich, but there's a lot of fringe stuff I haven't seen. And this was interesting for me to get at. I'm like, he's still got it, but I don't think the script has it. That's probably
it just feels lacking.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of there's some funny stuff where there's some alternate histories things of like Peter Bogdanovich was attached to like The Getaway at one point. I'm like, what's that look like? But yeah, so yeah, Thing Called Love. Yeah, like stuff's on the table, but I like I said, I enjoyed watching it, but I had issues abound with it.
So lowish in the top 10 for you then on the summer.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be like someone might knock it out next week. You never know.
This letterbox list that I've been forwarded, by the way, is a trip to look at.
Oh yeah,
I'll show you guys when we're done next week. But it's a big list of stuff.
Stuff and things.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, awesome. So yeah, we will move on now to our TV ratings for this week.
How would you feel if the man who killed your daughter was set free?
Not guilty by reason of insanity.
What would you do if the law was on his side?
I need justice.
Donna Mills.
Isn't there something we can do?
Lee Grant.
Are you crazy, Mommy?
In My Daughter's Name. A world premiere movie Sunday.
This is CBS.
All right. Nielsen top 10 here. Number 1, Home Improvement on ABC. Splitting the difference here between 1 and 3 is 60 Minutes on CBS, which Roseanne, Home Improvement's buddy, on ABC is number 3. Coach on ABC is number 4. And then we have a TV movie on CBS at number 5. This week's is In My Daughter's Name, which this one comes to us. Hang on a moment. Is from 1992. Directed by Judd Taylor. It's about Laura Elias' daughter is raped and murdered by Peter Lipton, who pleads guilty due to insanity with his affluential parents' support, and the jury acquits him. Unable to bear the injustice done to her daughter, Laura tries every possible option to obtain justice, but is unsuccessful every time, so she finally decides to take things in her own hands. Starring Donna Mills, John Getz, John Rubinstein, Ron Fraser, Ari Myers, Adam Stork, Lee Grant, Laura Anders. Yeah, that's who we got in this one. Roger Floyd. So
there was a mini trend of movies, and to a certain extent television shows were applicable, that made it seem like you could kill somebody and all you had to do was say, "Your Honor, I'm crazy," and they'd let you walk out a free man, or you'd be in a mental institution for like 6 months and then go free. And obviously that was not the case, but it made for good television.
Yes.
Judge Taylor, this director, was apparently in The Great Escape and then directed The Great Escape 3, a TV movie, which I did not know existed.
Well, The Great Escape 2 was a TV movie with Christopher Reeve.
3 also has Christopher Reeve.
Oh, he's back. He's escaping again.
He's escaping again. He's still escaping.
He can't get out.
Yeah, he's stuck. I got it this time, guys.
Number 6 is Murder, She Wrote on CBS. Number 7, another Home Improvement on ABC. Number 8, Murphy Brown, CBS. Number 9, Primetime Live on ABC. And number 10, Now, with Tom Brokaw and Katie Couric.
When?
Now. Okay. That's now, like when we're going to talk about fatherhood. Now.
I believe
Correct.
It's Fatherhood.
Fatherhood.
If you just do one word, you get the Kevin Hart picture that was supposed to be Sony, but ended up on Netflix during the first year of COVID.
What it is better.
There you go.
Which is better?
Fatherhood, not fatherhood.
All right. Well,
Fair,
Father...
and I don't disagree.
From Hollywood Pictures, ex-con Jack Charles was on the run from the law when his 2 kids decided to go with him. Now he's a single parent.
Well, what's for dinner?
Struggling to raise his family.
We're gonna have one hell of a Thanksgiving dinner.
It's not Thanksgiving.
You're being negative.
Patrick Swayze, in the movie that proves a father's work
I have to go to the bathroom.
is never done.
I hate all this family crap.
Fatherhood, rated PG-13. Starts Friday, August 27th at a theater near you.
Fatherhood is directed by Daryl Root, written by Scott Spencer, starring Patrick Swayze, Halle Berry, Sabrina Lloyd, Brian Bonsall, Michael Ironside.
Summer.
Yes, the Ironside of Summer. Diane Lane. Ladd. Sorry, Diane Ladd. Bob Gunton. Adrian Barbeau. Josh Lucas shows up in here late in the movie. Here he is. Stud
wait, is that who I think? Yes, it is.
The adventures of a deadbeat dad who kidnaps his kids from the bus, based on the true life stories and experiences of Michael J. Hardy. All right, Scott.
I didn't know this was based on a true story.
Yeah.
Shame on me for not doing my research.
All of the things in this movie happened. All of them.
Yes.
Every one of them.
One.
They have the news stories and evidence to back it up.
Yeah, this and Alive, which came out earlier in '93, were Josh Lucas's first films.
Oh, okay. I was like, where are we going with Alive and Fatherhood?
Patrick Swayze ate a guy, and then he made this movie.
Yeah.
No, this is not a good film. I mean, yes, I'm going to do the usual whole golly gee goshers. 30 years ago, it was just a movie that dealt with, real world issues on a small human scale, blah, 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 blah. I like the specificity of the story it's telling, blah, 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 blah. But that's not going to say it's a good picture. It's really slow. It's a 95-minute film, but it feels a lot longer in a way that, there's no excuse for. Swayze is fine. I just think it's another example of how Hollywood kind of struggled to know what to do with him, because he's so good as this idealistic heartthrob character in Dirty Dancing and Ghost, and then there was an attempt, whether it was him or whether it was his agents, to try to turn him into an action star, which frankly never panned out. I like Point Break, but it was not a hit film, and Roadhouse is terrible. Let's be honest.
No,
Oh,
you're
No,
wrong.
no, no.
I'm right. I've
No.
rewatched it recently.
Let me find the
So have I.
mute button. Let me find the mute button.
Oh boy.
Here we
Anyway,
What's your
this is where
here?
Scott defends Black Dog.
no.
Finally, he got it right.
But no, I mean the film is, it just didn't do anything for me. Again, I appreciated it in hindsight, its specificity, its small scale. It's about something in terms of the foster care system and the theoretical corruption therein, and how it screws up children that are vulnerable and blah 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 blah. But I liked what it was about more than how it was about it.
Gotcha. There were 5 films this week, and this was one of them I saw in the theater.
You suck.
This oh my gosh, family
We see
movies,
Sir Ninjas.
man.
It's not playing here anymore. I guess we're going to go see Fatherhood.
Fatherhood.
Because
And-
Needful Things was sold out.
Yeah, this is the first time seeing it since that. And yeah, it just felt like an awkward movie that, like I mentioned, we started with American Heart, and now we're here at Fatherhood, another one of these like shit dad ex-convict movies that we get. This one is no Dutch. This isn't getting even with dad, even with dad getting. We aren't even getting even with dad here. I like there's an approach from Swayze here that really works as the disconnected father that doesn't understand the responsibilities of fatherhood but wants to kind of like act like they are. That's kind of decently done throughout this thing, where it's like, yeah, I could get someone who thinks they can parent and jumping right into it, and like all these things are like, the fuck, like not understanding being a father myself now. Yep, right. But that does not endorse this movie. It's really, yeah, I just like it's a just wait for it to end movie. Ironside shows up that later in there. It's kind of fun. Holly Berry the people pop up at moments where you're just like ready to shut down, and they're like, oh, look, it's Holly Berry. Oh, it's Michael Ironside. Is that Josh Lucas? Like at the right times, this movie brings you back with somebody, a celebrity or somebody. You're like, oh, okay, that person.
No one's ever said Josh Lucas managed to bring me back to this. This movie
was,
was
that's
sagging down, but finally Josh Lucas showed up, and I felt
that's how low down dirty it got here.
This isn't Sweet Home Alabama.
No. And Swayze, Swayze, like I feel like he's a guy that no matter how shit the picture, he's committed. Like I really never. I feel like best, but like until he passed, I never really appreciate like how good he actually was when he was there. And he was having like before he died, like he had like a terrific role in Donnie Darko, and it looked like he was gonna like have this renaissance of a career and this different turn of his role, but they, fucking cancer. But going back to his old movies like Roadhouse, he's great.
Which
he
isn't
understands
very
the picture.
good.
It's great. Roadhouse is
It's
amazing.
mediocre at best.
No, Scott already went from sucks to mediocre, so he's raising the level here.
The double feature we're gonna do with Miami Connection and Roadhouse is gonna be incredible.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Yeah. So, yeah, this movie, it is Fatherhood, not good. Aaron?
This was a real race to the bottom this week as far as who could be the worst movie, but I'm pretty sure this one won. It's bad. Down to the title, which is so stupid. It's a terrible pun. Fatherhood.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
It's succinct. Layers.
I don't think Swayze's terrible in this, but I think he's terribly miscast in this because he's just so naturally likable. And you can't cast someone that's like a complete asshole, but like him trying to play scumbum dad is so like just not his thing. This is not the territory he belongs in whatsoever. it was very grating every time he like said something off kilter, and his kids were like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, hey, just trust me. I'm like, oh my god, I can't do this for what felt like 4.5 hours. You're not wrong, Scott. It's a very like slow paced, long movie, despite being shorter than movies I've seen this week.
It attempts to create set pieces, but there's nothing that like I can't remember.
You mentioned Ironside, and I don't think I've ever seen him be worse in a movie than this.
He's bad. Yep.
He's really bad in this movie. There is a scene where the two of them are in a car, and they're like trying to like wait for like, again, this is a movie that has guns. It's a lot of that theme had a lot this week as far as how do we clear up the problem? Well, there's like mobsters and shit. What? In this movie about corrupt child care centers? But like there's a scene where they're like waiting in a car to like take money from a guy or like track a guy or whatever, and they're like, they just look at each other like, you gotta keep going, man. No, you gotta. It's like, what TV acting school did we get into all of a sudden? Like, this is just awful. Speaking of cliches, this is one of the like, not only does it have like, you know, big mobster stuff, it also has cliched courtroom ending where things that happen in a courtroom never happen, like random people walking in like, I have the evidence, Your Honor. Who are you? What person are you that has nothing to do with this case whatsoever?
No, I'll allow it.
They're full of, yeah, we'll see where you go.
I want to see where this goes.
I'm watching you. Like, there's so much. It's not as though like I need fatherhood to be realistic, but like it's trying to be like 4 different things that just none of them really work. It's badly acted. It's badly made. It's miscast. It has so many like attempts at saccharine moments and that are just come off terrible every time. Everything involving like the kids is mediocre at best when you have what's her name, like Sabrina Lloyd from Sports Night, and the boy, and they're just like calling out Swayze and all this stuff, and I just don't care because it's maudlin and stupid. It's a really just badly done version of this kind of movie. And yeah, if you want to talk about the things it's about, the specificity of it, cool. I don't think it does any of those things well or adds anything to that conversation, let alone concludes in any way that makes you think any differently about these places beyond the fact that, oh, bad things happen sometimes. Okay, thanks, movie. Like, there's nothing there. There's no resolution. There's no, like, literally, there's no resolution to like the problem at hand beyond, I guess Bob Gunton might have a bad day at work tomorrow. Like, that's it. Like, there's nothing that suggests like the corruption going on in these places is going to have any kind of difference because Patrick Swayze said a thing in the court once. Like, there's nothing there at all. I don't think anyone would walk out, worried about that aspect of the plot more so than being like, did he like take a boat? Did that guy get his boat back? I feel like that'd be the bigger thing.
Right.
Didn't the car blow up at one point in this movie? Yeah, right. That was weird. Like, there's so much nonsense going on throughout this thing.
They hung out in a camper right in their pantry and just hanging out while people drove it.
Yeah, this real bottom of the barrel stuff for Swayze, and like I've seen City of Joy. This is bad. This is just a really bad movie.
The best part of the movie was they were watching Night of the Living Dead on the TV, and that's a good movie. So anytime you can watch some of Night of the Living Dead, there you go.
At least they didn't have Patrick Swayze gravely turn to the audience and explain the meaning of the film.
Or the I mean,
sorry, that's a vague Logan reference.
Right. He does shout into several phone booths what's basically the themes of the film, though. He does that a few times.
That's true.
I can't just be a dad to these kids all of a sudden.
Nobody's gonna take these kids from me. Yeah.
Yeah. All the scenes with him and Halle Berry, where there's this weird like running thought of you. That's what it is. Oh my god! Because I watched it like a week ago. Now remembering. That's the thing. That every time he's on the phone with Halle Berry, anytime that she makes like a proper point, he's like, "Listen, lady, I'm not just some rich woman from the suburbs and everything, sitting on my couch doing whatever I want to. I've struggled for real." And
Nice.
and he
does he know?
Every single time he goes to that. Every single time Halle Berry makes another point, he's like, okay, fine. But listen, I didn't grow up with money. I'm not just like you where I can just do whatever I want all the time to write my stories. I have real stories, miss. Who I think For some reason, he thinks she's like an Irish old lady and not like a black woman on the phone.
Well, he's just mad because she's writing a news story based on what she has. It's like she ain't gonna. Okay.
But that's why I like.
How dare you use the facts?
And
Like,
where
this
do
is-
things go? He goes to prison. Like that's.
But like what bothers me is that it feels like it shows a limit to what Swayze's capable of, because he doesn't seem like a guy that does improv very well, and that feels like stuff where it's like, you like Swayze, you're supposed to get like angry in the scene, so his go-to is just like characterize this innocent woman as like some like middle class rich lady like that just lives in her, like that's like his go-to as far as that's the way I'm gonna like get angry in this scene, and he does it over and over again.
Well, it feels like in order for him to be silly like that, he needs to be like Jeff Daniels and have Jim Carrey with him. So he's got that person that's even a little bit crazier. So
Which
yeah.
is what like the Ironside thing is, but that comes and goes so quickly, and he's terrible in it.
Well,
So
Ironside is like always intense, so he's never gonna be like. So
yeah, but that's
by
why he's
default-
bad in the movie, because he's supposed to be bumbling. But
Yeah.
Ironside's like the most intense character actor you can get for a movie, so you can't have him playing You can't have him playing like a Ned Beatty character in a
Yeah.
movie. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I mean, he's like the definitive dark side. He's not clumsy.
Yeah. So like,
the weird thing about this, and this crossed even when I was a kid, Swayze breaks out with a few things, and then becomes basically an icon with Dirty Dancing and Ghost. And really, this was the film that was sort of like, okay, maybe he's not going to be a star. I quite like City of Joy, but to his credit, he's a supporting character in that.
Is he? I've not seen that movie since high school. So
yeah, it's neither have I, but I remember quite liking it.
That is the rickshaw one, right? That's the one where he goes to the
yes.
Okay, all right.
He does this. He does Tall Tale, neither of which are successful. And by 2 years later, by 1995, Tu Wong Fu is already his comeback vehicle.
Yeah, and he
And
disappears.
That film
till
is a
Donnie
modest
Darko.
hit. And then he does a few films that nobody gives a crap about. Yeah, for 6 years until Donnie Darko.
Yeah, he did a lot of straight. There's a lot of straight to video stuff, but like, yeah, it's.
No, I mean, he never. I mean, this is old news, obviously, but his fame was flash in a pan. It was really a few years.
Because I grew up like I knew like the person Patrick Swayze, but like I had never seen like a movie beyond like Point Break, just because it was on TV a lot. I didn't see it in theater because I was too young for theaters. But like he was never like a person was like, oh, there's a new Swayze thing. It was like more like that guy that's like, I guess he was popular at some point, but I never like knew him as like a movie star.
I mean, he was humongous the latter half of the 80s. Like that was it. And like even Roadhouse was a cult movie.
Yeah, that wasn't a hit.
The whole
it wasn't a hit because it's terrible.
Because people were stupid. That's why
they just didn't. They weren't ready for it.
They weren't. It was stupid.
They weren't ready for it, and yeah, Sam Elliott and those locks were just not appreciated.
I mean, what's up? What has a 4K release? Roadhouse. History tells.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, he was. I mean, he was like the.
Would you like to look up some of the pieces of shit that have a 4K release?
Yeah, and going like,
but not a fancy Vinegar Syndrome 4K box set.
But like, also it's
generational nostalgia.
I'm gonna sound like an asshole. Not that I don't normally sound like one. But like, looking at things, if you were living in the late 80s and you were a guy like. He was in the girl movies too. Like that was a thing back then because he had Ghost, Dirty Dancing, and yeah, he had like Dirty Dancing soundtrack was everywhere. Girls always watched Dirty Dancing, and there was Ghost, and it was like he wasn't appealing to like men to go see his movies.
He was not on, that's why it's interesting they starred together, but him and Keanu Reeves sort of had that same specific sex appeal where he wasn't someone that guys necessarily wanted to emulate.
Sure.
Well, yeah,
Plus,
he was in that. He was in the Outsiders to begin the decade too, but like, it was more. Yeah,
over a gate. It's great.
Yeah.
No, I remember we talked about this for the Point Break commentary. The fact that Bigelow intentionally cast two actors that were, old school heartthrobs more than macho action heroes.
Yeah, it's not Schwarzenegger and Stallone as the experts,
right?
60 seconds.
I am an FBI agent.
These two like massive guys were chasing each other in LA.
I'm Johnny Utah.
It's one wave, man.
Oh my! But yeah. Fatherhood is no good. That is what we got
The
here.
critics agree.
Utah, let me too.
So let's move on to the Casey Kasem top 40 for this week. The top 10 of which
Casey's biggest hits.
we discussed. Number 1, Can't Help Falling in Love by UB40 from the summer sliver. Did I miss something?
Yeah. You keep reminding me that that's from that movie. It's really funny every time.
Sliver, remember? We talked about it.
That is definitely a movie.
Scott, short-term memory, bud. We talked about that one earlier.
Oh, I remember Sliver.
Yeah.
It's by default better than a number of the films we've seen this summer.
Yeah.
By default.
It's
a very important caveat.
Are you saying
default.
it's in the bottom of the top half? Like, is that what you're saying?
Give or take, maybe. I don't know. I haven't actually done a list.
I have it pretty low.
It's fucking Basic Instinct compared to Guilty as Sin.
Well, yeah. Okay.
It went well. I don't know. Guilty as Sin has a pretty pronounced ending. That gives it more credit for me.
That is true. It does end in an enjoyable way, while Sliver barely has an
Sliver's
ending.
like, he wrecked his TVs.
You fiend.
All right.
You know that movie would be better if they flew into Volcano together. Yeah.
So UB40 was number 1. Huh?
Well, yeah, Whoop, there it is number 2. Number 3 is Dream Lover by Mariah Carey, which was also the title of the script for Peter Jackson's unused 6th Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Number 4, Lately by Jodeci. Number 5, Runaway Train by Soul Asylum. Number 6,
Those kids are running away from home.
Oh gosh,
it's really sad.
You need to listen.
I hope their parents find them. Rock on, dude.
You need to listen to the music video episode for that one, as you can find out what happened to some of those kids.
Oh God, remind me. I will do that immediately.
Are the kids all right?
Huh?
The kids.
Spoiler. No.
Damn it, Offspring.
It says never coming back, Aaron.
Yeah.
The one-way track.
Yeah, that's buried
I guess
in
it
the
was
backyard.
Dealing with the pain.
That's buried in the backyard of your ex-wife's house. But yeah, anyways.
Smash that subscribe button.
Number 6, I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles by the Proclaimers. Number 7, If by Janet Jackson. Number 8, Slam by Onyx. Number 9, If I Had No Loot by Tony. And number 10, Weak by SWV. We only have one more week of Casey Kasem's top 10, so check it out. And now on to The Man Without a Face.
Critics call The Man Without a Face a major triumph. Gibson shines as an actor and director.
Have a good look. Get it over with.
Heartwarming and rewarding. Mel Gibson, The Man Without a Face, rated PG-13, now playing at a theater near you.
Directed by Mel Gibson, written by Isabel Holland
happened to that guy?
and Malcolm McCreary. Starring Mel Gibson, Nick Stahl, whatever happened to that guy too? Margaret Whitten, Faye Masterson, Gabby Hoffman, Jeffrey Lewis is back. Took a couple movies off. We're back to him. Richard Mazer, Michael DeLuise, and Ethan Phillips. Chuck wants to leave home, but can't make the grade for boarding school. Then he finds out the disfigured recluse living nearby is an ex-teacher. All right. Aaron, why did this movie bring you to tears?
Big Gabby summer, too. Gabby Hoffman's back from Sleepless.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't have a title for this one, but my tagline that I made up was, where did it go?
Not Man Without an Oscar? All right.
I'd only known about this movie. I never actually saw it, and the best thing that I knew about it was the Simpsons thing where Seymour Skinner and his mother were fighting, and she put a line down the middle of the room, and he said that we met a man without a face. I didn't even know he had a problem, which always. Oh my god, that's a good Simpsons joke.
It is really good.
No, ain't a problem. But this movie, I was like, okay, so what actually is this story? Because I had no idea what this movie was going to be, and for some reason I get it confused with Boy the Plastic Bubble. I don't know why, but I think it's because like major stars as like Rick Simpson, so for some reason. Granted, this is a real movie, not a TV movie.
Just for our listeners, he does have a face in the movie.
It's there somewhere. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
it's not. You're not.
He's not the Spot from Summer's hit Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Right. Well, he's not the Invisible Man as well. So
where it's just this part that's invisible. He's like, oh, my body.
Yeah.
So as far as this movie goes, it's fine. It is completely harmless. It's the thing where you've seen other movies that have come along since that do relatively the same thing as far as like mentor figure with a troubled past and like a kid and whatnot. And like I get what this one's doing. There's nothing particularly wrong about it. It just kind of sits there and does what it does and then gets out. Like it's a movie, like Scott would say. I have my own problems with Gibson now, but certainly in the 90s, he was this guy. He was a guy. He did his thing. He was very good at doing the thing that he was doing, and he's good here. Like he elicits the kind of sympathy that you'd want to see from this kind of character, and without wearing a beard, no less. He's one of those sad characters that doesn't have to have a beard to show you how sad he is compared to certain Oscar winners.
That's because his face burned off.
Yeah, so he probably can't grow a beard.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to like.
And now I'm
reason to
picturing with
myself.
like half a beard on the.
The man without, of course, without a face is of course without a beard as well. So
I can say that I didn't know where this was going necessarily, so I was taken a bit as far as like what this film wanted to like say, even though it's like it's weird to put you in a position to be like, now we have to think this about this guy, even though like clearly this is not the thing, and it's like that's a choice that they're going for. And I've since read about like the novel this is based off of that makes things a little more cut and dry. And it's like, okay, there's probably an interesting way to explore that version of the story, but that's not this movie. This movie's pretty plain. And that's why it's not really anything more than what it is to me. Like it doesn't have all that much nuance. It's just kind of telling you a pretty simple story about a guy that people, whisper and murmur about, and we learn about him. And it's like, no, he's just a guy. But unfortunately things are the way they are, what have you, and so whatever. Nick Stahl's fine. He does his kid thing. Not the best kid performance we've seen this summer, not the worst kid performance we've seen this summer. Just he's good enough in here. I like the big house that he had, by the way. Since they live by like a river or whatever. I like this like huge house that he lives like the Beast in just by himself. I've been talking. What do you guys think,
Scott?
I had seen this on video or HBO or whatever 30 years ago, give or take. Obviously, because I enjoy it, and I did rewatch it last year. I don't remember why. I think I was going to do something Mel Gibson related. I ended up not writing it.
You saw the mirror has two faces, so you're like, we watch a movie without a face.
Exactly. One thing that I thought was interesting was that this is a film that came out in 1993, and the idea of a guy being wrongfully accused of child molestation and being subject to a witch hunt, for lack of a better term, was almost downright transgressive, coming just a few years after the McMartin ridiculousness.
Right.
Which is in the early 90s, we started seeing that a lot of this. The short version is there were several high-profile cases of like preschools and daycares that were embroiled in completely bullshit, fabricated child molestation scandals.
It was the end of the Satanic Panic. Was the McMartin trials coming to the head, and then the focus shifted to rap music. The panic of white suburban America decided. It's funny because the McMartin trial ends, and then all of a sudden, Two Live Crew and NWA are going to court. So that was their new panic.
Yeah. And watching this film now, I mean, if I were writing an obnoxious think piece, I'd say it was an early look at cancel culture, or whatever you want to call that. But that being said, I think the film is better than that. I think the film is smarter than that. There is, I think it's at its best, it's a feature-length version of one of those Little House on the Prairie episodes, of which there are several, where one of the sisters encounters this, vaguely eccentric, scary old man who ends up being friendly with a sad, tragic backstory. This was, both Home Alone movies also. And Mel Gibson is very good here. Again, this was, as you said, it was before that we, when he was known as a relatively cheerful, good time actor that was still proving that yes, he could act. That, even though he was very good in the action pictures that he did, and he was very good in films like The Year of Living Dangerously, he was still somewhat of an underrated performer.
Yeah, just on like Hamlet at this point too, like early.
I'm sorry?
You just done like Hamlet a little earlier.
Oh yeah, he had just done Hamlet. I would say very well, frankly.
And like Once Forever Young, which is a movie I like more.
Year before this.
Yeah,
that one I like. That I don't know why I like that movie more. It's a goofier movie, but I like.
It's a more entertaining picture. It obviously takes it's a lot less high and mighty, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
And I do find I found it funny when I was a kid that the kid wants to get into military school, which is usually what the kids in these movies are trying to avoid.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, and no, as far as Gibson's filmography as a director, in a skewed way, this is almost one of the more off-brand pictures, because most of his directorial efforts are about men of peace who have to survive through violent turmoil without, to varying degrees, becoming violent themselves. And obviously, doesn't quite work out in Braveheart. But Passion of the Christ, Hacksaw Ridge, to a certain stuff, what's it? The other Apocalypto, which is a very violent picture, but he's running away and on the defensive for much of that.
I'll give you this: Apocalypto is better than Roadhouse.
Better than what?
It's better than Roadhouse. I'll give you that.
Appreciate it,
because it rules, and I hate how much it rules.
No, it's pretty great. And it's funny when it was one of those dumb film rumors that he was rumored to be directing the Wild Bunch for like 10 seconds. It's like there's few people less appropriate for the Wild Bunch than Mel Gibson. I hope that was not true, and so far it is not. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously a time capsule when we thought of Mel Gibson just in terms of the work that he was doing, as opposed to everything else. You could argue that it does fit in terms of his martyr complex pictures, because this is an innocent man that gets not once but twice branded as a pedophile and run out of town.
Yeah.
It's
be a weird TV show.
What was that?
That'd be a weird TV show every year. He gets branded down for being accused of being a pedophile.
Jesus Christ. I'd watch. So it certainly plays on the old passion play themes that Gibson became somewhat famous for. But beyond that, I think it's just a solid drama that I think is intelligent. It is thoughtful. Even the big courtroom scene at the end isn't as melodramatic and grandiose as you might expect in a film like that.
Compared to fucking Fatherhood, yes, this is a much better quality.
Right, yeah.
drama movie.
That's true.
And without going into details, in case anyone ever wants to watch this, it does not end with a super duper mega happy ending. It ends with a satisfying ending.
Yeah,
but it certainly does not end on a note of raw, unabilliated melodrama. And I liked it. I still do.
Yeah, I was okay with this one. I'm not super high on it. I was kind of like bored at times because it felt like I never saw it. I remembered the poster where it was like that picture of Mel Gibson or whatever, but this one felt like I've put myself in kind of, man, this is like man desperately seeking Oscar attention. It felt like a lot of the time.
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
He directs himself. He's the handsome guy that uglies his face. He's a damaged, ugly, mentor to a troubled child, and then like this mysterious molester past. I'm like, oh man, he is throwing it all in here for this.
Came out in August, prime Oscar season.
He even gets an angry drunk scene, even though it's a dream. Which Mel was really good at that.
No, that's his dad.
Oh, is it his dad?
Kid's dad, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Mel. Like
it's not Mel, yeah. Because I was at that point the movie was like it jolted me somewhat awake because I'm like,
yeah,
what's happening here? But I looked, it's like, oh, that's not Mel. It's supposed to be his dad.
I thought I looked down and there was Mel down there, but okay.
You see a shady white guy, but yeah, it's not him.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be his dad, yeah.
All right. Wow. Okay. Scratch that from the record. So it's also, I found it neat, or interesting that it's our second movie and a couple weeks with the gossipy town people about the one person, like that night with C. Thomas Howell, where it's like there's the chatty bit. No one wants to actually go talk to the person, but the people like their idea and building their story about him more than they actually would just
the beast.
going to actually seek out and see what the person's about. And of course they're never going to believe a child. And there's that weird scene where like, did he touch you? He's like, yeah, yes he did.
I hate that. Like
that. It's like,
that's the thing that gets me so hard in movies.
Dumb kid.
Because like that's why I really like The Hunt a lot with Mads Mikkelsen. Because it's like I'm so instantly on the other side of that, because it's like, no, you don't understand. You need to apply more context to these sentences.
Right.
You can't just say one thing and then drop it all together.
Right. I got him. It's John Oliver being like, we got him.
Well, no, it's not to go into the whole screed about that era, but the grim joke of it was always, if you don't believe this, then you don't believe children. But the children are the ones saying this is bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I like you guys talking about the court case, and I like the way the character and the way it plays out, where he's just like, it's not worth fighting as much as it is, and he he knows that the right things will work themselves out eventually. There's sort of this like admirable patience to the character, which is normally like you see with fatherhood, the guy fighting with every last breath to get the result he wants, and he's just like, well, we're fucked. But
it's in between them, but it's fitting that he's he doesn't have a beard, but he's playing a Robin Williams character. He's playing both poets and Good Will Hunting combined.
Right, complete with the letter he wrote, to the kid that is a narrative. I did think it was funny. I'm like, man, had this movie come out today or been like this phenomenon, like the end would be some sort of meme. It would have entered meme culture with the guy, the background with putting the sunglasses on and waving or something.
Oh yeah, this is the end when of the A24 film where Jacob Tremblay is in military school and Michael Shannon's there.
Yeah,
waving back at him.
Shush, they can hear you.
But yeah, like it felt like that would have been a thing. As he walks into the who knows whatever he's walking to, we don't get to see
Narnia. He's going back to Narnia. He's actually Aslan.
Gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. I there's stuff I like about I wasn't enamored with. Like, it probably too many years too late seeing it is probably, if I'd have seen it back in 93 when it came out and been a bit older, or discovered it on VHS or something later on, but I never really got to it. Wasn't that interested then, but like I might have been much higher on it. But now I'm just like, looking back, and I'm just like, man, this feels like Oscar desperation here. But
second time was a charm.
So yeah, he wins the very next time he directs. Like, yeah, it's.
But the other thing that was getting me was like, yeah, everyone's spreading rumors about this guy, and they don't want to actually visit him. But I'm like, have you seen his house? Who doesn't want to go there? That looks like a great time to have. Oh,
but have you seen his face? There is none.
Not bad.
No, it's not that bad. Well, I do like their scenes where he's focused, like where he's like, hey, stare at it, get it over with. Let's, like.
Yeah. And he's a fun guy, the way he presents himself. Like he clearly was a good teacher.
Yeah.
Like,
dig that hole, please. Dig that.
Yeah, I mean,
dig the hole.
The whole like he's only talking to white kids and he never talks about the Jews. Like that probably bothered me. But I mean, besides that, it's like he's a good teacher.
Yeah. But how did this didn't get any real Oscar buzz, did it?
No,
it was supposed to be. It was like that summer. Yeah,
that's what they said.
Sorry, Mel.
It made some money, a little bit.
No, it was a solid little hit.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Yeah, I remember when I was living the era. I remember the poster, and I remember seeing the trailer, and it was like this self-importance, like this is going to be the award movie, and like this is Mel's big thing. Like I think at least, I don't think he's going for best director here, but he's like, I'm going to get myself a best actor, thing. So in order to do that, I'll direct myself.
Did you guys like the family, Nick Stahl's family?
I thought they were fine.
It's a mixed family, like, right? Like they have different, and then they find out like his dad was a nutbag and stuff. Like, yeah. Yeah.
It certainly takes up a lot of screen time. So I was like, clearly you want to do something with this. Like, okay, I get it. Like, fill out the world, but it's like, don't care about any of these people.
No, and their connections and who can trust who. Like it doesn't.
Because a lot of this
fit
is Nick
neatly.
Stars to like hide the fact that he's taking lessons from a teacher.
Yeah.
But it's a scary guy, so I guess that's a real no-no.
Well, and like she doesn't like he never like what could happen is like, hey mom, I'm taking lessons from that guy. Can you come meet him? I want you to be okay with this.
Yeah.
But he's also a child too. That's a what a mature
It's
adult
like
would say. But
it's like it wavers in and out as far as what child logic's going to allow. It's like this seems like a smart enough kid to like get the ramifications of not doing certain things, and yet he's still like, but these are your legends, so I can't do that. And it's like, all right.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, yeah, and there's the scene where the cop's like, well, can you come down to the? We just want to talk. It's not a. It's like, but no, it's I was just kind of like, with this one, I wasn't too big on it, but maybe if he had a face, I'd have liked it.
Again, I think it's fine. It's in the mid tier of this summer, but it's just pretty unassuming.
Gotcha. Yeah. Speaking of the mid tier of the summer, it's time to check out with our friend Yancy for Yancy's Tales from the Video Store.
Wednesday's opening of the Thomas Vanderclip retrospective is strictly invitation only. Who cares? Blockbuster gives you 9,000 reasons to stay in, so why go out? Make it a Blockbuster night.
So when I lived in Los Angeles, I used to always go rent at that 2-story Blockbuster that was off Sunset on the street. On the street they filmed Halloween.
Oh yeah, I don't think I ever went there, but I know what you're talking about.
So it was 2-story Blockbuster, and I just was like, they had a lot for a Blockbuster. Most Blockbusters were like, here are the hits, here are the old hits. This one, like, so much stuff. One day I went to rent there, and it was like crowded. Like there was people all around the outside, and you could see it was like paparazzi. I was like, oh crap, who's in here? Who's in here? And I walk in, and there's a Blockbuster employee, like, with a big cardboard thing trying to cover somebody. It was Lindsay Lohan was in Blockbuster, and this is when she was dating that girl or whatever, when she like came out that she was bi and she was dating this girl, and I was in there, and I was just trying to return something and rent, and I look like an idiot because I like happen to keep stumbling upon the same damn aisles that she was in. And I was like, great, I'm gonna show up in like freaking like was it Paris Hilton site or something tomorrow.
Right,
be embarrassing. These paparazzi were crazy though. I'd never seen anything like it. They were just like flash, 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 flash. I saw a guy come upside down like Spider-Man from a tree and try to snap a photo, and I was like, crap. And this was toward the end of my time in Los Angeles, and I called my now wife at the time. I'm like, so if you check out paparazzi sites, you might see me in them, because anytime I walked around an aisle, I couldn't avoid Lindsay Lohan. And like the Blockbuster employee probably thought I was like stalking. I'm like, I wasn't. I was literally in aisles when you guys turned into them. And then the funny thing was, she was so low maintenance there. I had to dig like through crap sites that apparently nobody was paying for those photos anymore. So I was not in danger of any big thing like that.
She's little. Is she little? Is she tall?
She's little. She's real little. I mean, she doesn't look like she's like got a good age look to her. Like I saw like
so well.
I don't know. I saw it's really weird. I saw Rachel Bilson one time, and she looked like a 4-year-old. And she's probably about similar height to Lindsay Lohan, but Lindsay Lohan looked like, okay, you're probably in your 20s. Like it's interesting. I don't know how that worked out, but yeah.
That reminds me, I went to see what's that movie with Adrian Brody and Sarah Polley, where it's like a Cronenberg kind of movie.
The one where the Del Toro produced it with they both fucked the alien.
Yeah, what's it called?
Splice.
I went to see Splice at the Chinese theater at like probably a 2 in the afternoon show with a friend of mine. I don't remember which one. And when we went in, it was that the theater is packed as usual. People trying to take off, but the Chinese theater is always packed. So we go in to see the movie. We come out of the movie, it's dead. The lobby's dead. There's no one there. The actual handprints, there's no one there. There's nothing. We're like, what the fuck is going on? And we stop for a second. The next thing we see is Tom Cruise going past on a cherry picker going up across the street And it's some kind of
Ooh.
weird Jimmy Kimmel stunt. But it was an amazing, like, Hollywood moment. It's not video related, unfortunately, but it was like, oh look, that's why there's no one here.
Oh, that's funny.
But somehow they forgot the guys in the splice screening.
Oh,
That was a sort of fun moment.
that's funny. That's because like Scott Mendelson and I once at the Chinese, we saw the entire first season of 24 in a marathon there when I first moved to Los Angeles, something we first did together. So I guess we were meant to be friends if we sat through in a movie theater the entire first season of 24. But when we left, it felt like the apocalypse happened. I've never experienced, and that's when I learned. I'm like, okay, I've been in New York before and stuff, but like that's the city that never sleeps. LA's the city that does go to sleep. Like that's one thing I learned. Like, and when I lived in off Hollywood Boulevard, I definitely saw like, yeah, that place only operates in this certain window of the day, and then it just dies out. Okay, now it's time for our main picture of the 5 here. The most high profile, biggest release this week.
Did you flip a coin on this?
No, this was the highest profile of these.
Between this and Only the Strong.
Yeah. Needful Things.
There's a new businessman in Castle Rock, and for a price, he'll get you anything you want. The devil is open for business, and business is booming. From Stephen King's best-selling book.
How is it going? I killed my wife. Is that wrong? Hey, these things happen.
Needful Things. Rated R. At theaters Friday.
Directed by Fraser C. Heston. Yes! Son of Charlton.
Chucky son.
And this kid also played Infant Moses in 10 Commandments. Woo!
He was the first Superman.
Written by W.D. Richter on a book by Stephen King. Starring Max von Sydow, Ed Harris, Bonnie Bedelia, Amanda Plummer, J.T. Walsh. Oh, it is a Plummer summer, isn't it?
Plummer summer.
Plummer summer. If it's summer, it must be Plummer. All right. J.T. Walsh, Ray McKinnon, Duncan Fraser, Valerie Bromfield, Jillian Barber, and Lachlan Monroe. A mysterious new shop opens in a small town, which always seems to stock the deepest desires of each shopper with a price far heavier than expected. All right. Who wants needful? Who is the most needful for the things?
Here's an idea. Don't shop there.
Go on.
Yep.
I mean, it's if
I'm
you
listening.
don't go to the store of the devil, you'll be fine. But everyone decides to go to the store of the devil because they're freaking morons. I mean, you know he's a monster because he says he's from Akron, Ohio. That's your first clue. You know, lots of monsters like Jeffrey Dahmer and Scott Mendelson are from Akron, Ohio.
Jeez.
Crest.
So don't go to the store. If you don't go to the store, you'll be fine, which is why the movie isn't particularly scary, because all they have to do is not go to the fucking store. Go to a different store. Bob's General Store. They got everything you need, but no curses. Bob misses you. Go to his store. Don't go to this weird Leland God store. It's a bad idea. You're going to regret it. Ooh, scary.
You're just playing for the YouTube clip. I get it.
I'll forget.
Smash that subscribe button.
Smash that subscribe button, but don't go to the fucking store.
Finally, a non-Stephen King centric podcast with my favorite critic, Scott Mendelson, is talking needful things. I can't wait.
That's the shirt, though. Get 3 stick figures, and one says, "Don't go to the fucking store." Summer of '93 at 30.
Simple. Don't fucking go to the store.
One of my favorite lines, which makes which works fine in context of a different Stephen King adaptation. It's an evil fucking store. Anyway, I had never seen this. I knew of it when the book came out. I knew of it when the movie came out. It is really boring. And this was back during that time when, quite frankly, Stephen King, say what you will about him as an author, and I think most of us will say mostly good things about him as an author, but movies based on Stephen King stories were often considered the bottom of the barrel, with some obvious exceptions, when it came to theatrical horror movies.
Well, when it comes to the 90s, it's over.
The 90s,
We're
yeah.
the
Yeah,
90s. The early 80s.
Early
what's
80s was like
interesting
at the
is
prime
that
time.
Post Carrie has some good stuff.
Carrie was 1976.
Yeah, right. Post Carrie, like coming right after, you have stuff like.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
You have the Dead Zone. You have Christine. You've got The Shining. Like you've got a run of good
mid-80s
stuff.
to early 90s.
Yeah,
Misery. That's sort of a change in tune.
Yeah,
it's like it ends after Misery, but it ends.
What's interesting about this picture is that it was presented as a somewhat prestigious horror picture.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
because again, it's the guy that wrote Misery. It's got all these real actors in it: Bonnie Bedelia, J.T. Walsh, Max von Sydow, Ed Harris, and it is really boring. It's almost like it's too upper crust respectable to be gruesome and gory and fun. It also feels paced like one of the, and ironically, there is a 3-hour cut of this film that aired on television with deleted scenes, as sometimes happens. I did not watch that version because, jokes aside, dear God, I did not need another hour of this. It feels structured and paced like one of the made-for-television miniseries that were relatively popular in the early 90s. But this is a theatrical picture.
And you can get Max von Sydow instead of Julian Sands, who's still missing.
Weird callback, but okay.
Yeah, continuing the summer of '93.
Once you establish the very clear concept that you go to the store, it gives you some weird ass item that, in a very ironic way, is exactly what you want. But look out, monkey's paw, but not in a particularly exciting way. It's basically that for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same scene over and over and over again. But the movie's R-rated, but it feels very bloodless. There's not a ton of violence. There's not a ton of gore.
Like rated R for rage.
Yeah, basically. It's R for profanity or, thematic elements.
R for JT Walsh.
And it's really boring. And I'm not going to say it's the worst Stephen King movie, or even just theatrical stuff, the worst Stephen King, based on a Stephen King book movie, but it might be one of the most just genuinely unexciting and unengrossing and dull. Because, yeah, Maximum Overdrive is worse, but Maximum Overdrive is fun. But that intentionally or not. This is not fun. It's not scary. It's not engrossing. It has a really strong cast that looks bored out of their minds.
In a boring setting.
Yeah.
Like this
boring setting.
This town is just sitting there waiting for the stand to happen. Like that's what this is. Like it's like, can we die so like someone can come wandering into us as a ghost town, please?
Randall, save us.
What's going on in Derry?
Yeah.
This was not remotely the worst movie of the summer of '93 in terms of.
Sure.
But in terms of first-time watches, I think this might have been the most disappointing for me.
Yeah.
Just because I expected to be entertained, and I wasn't.
And it's the Castle Rock movie too. And it's the only Castle Rock set movie produced by Castle Rock Entertainment.
I didn't know that.
Stakes were high.
Funny.
Stakes were high.
People love going to Derry. I'm telling you.
Again, just before I let you go, don't go in the fucking store. Okay.
Gotcha. Aaron, go into the store. Tell us what's
No, don't go in the store.
Yeah, I had seen this movie, so I was well aware that it was bad already. And I watched it again and it was still bad. And the fact that there is a More Needful Things, the title of the TV version, makes me wonder, what the fuck did they watch on TV? Like,
how many more visits to the shop to happened?
Like at the time of this recording, Kino had announced that they're putting out like a 4K with a new restored version of that 3-hour cut, and I'm like, good God, why? I'm glad that didn't come out, so we didn't have to watch it just to be. It's exactly what Scott said as far as it's a very redundant film. So I'm like, what possibly more could you have? That was worth an hour's worth of time. It's desperately bad. JT Walsh is having fun because he's JT Walsh. I'm surprised it's the first time we've seen him this summer, honestly.
Yeah.
Ed Harris has never given a bad performance, so like he's doing what he can with this. And Max von Sydow, whatever. He's here. He's animated enough, but yeah, this is bad. It's for a film that's about people doing, getting things that will help them or what have you. It's a very uneventful film. Even when there is like murder happening, it's just like, okay, moving on. Like there's so little like stuff of consequence happening, despite the movie wanting to frame it as if like everything's happening at given moments. Even when there's like riots at the end, it just kind of quickly ends. It's like, oh, he shot his gun in the air. I guess we're done. Like it's okay. Like it's it has a pretty damn big explosion at the end of this movie.
Oh yeah.
Like out of a what's his name? That director you like, Craig? What's his name?
Oh,
Action Jackson.
Craig Baxley.
Baxley, yeah. I was like
the Stone Cold guy.
Yeah,
this is like a Baxley explosion. I was looking at that thing, and I was like, wow, that's
Craig R. Baxley. Yeah,
but yeah, no, there's just nothing in this movie that's worthwhile in a way that makes you like compelled by what this story has to offer, because it doesn't have anything to offer. Like I'm curious what this book is. I'm sure it probably reads better because it's you can take a chapter and sit on it for a while.
Well, you can be boring and redundant in a book with what this is doing. When it comes to the film, it's like, oh man.
And it's not as though like having a slower paced Stephen King thing that has a lot of stars or what have you like sets you up for not having a lot to do. Like Dolores Claiborne's not exactly a thrill a minute movie, but it's a really well acted, well made piece of film. Or even Shawshank or Green Mile, they're they're these dramas that have like all character based. Like this movie had the opportunity to do a lot with at least these characters, because you have an assortment of people here between Bedelia, Walsh, and Harris. But it's like, why is this so stagnant? It's just it's a real
and it reminded me of, not in a good way, the many long and character focused and drawn out by virtue of the format, television miniseries that we saw in the 90s. But I mean, Story of the Century is like 10 times better than this, even though it's 3 times as long, basically.
They have like a goofy charm to them since they're TV movies,
right?
Kind of like you admire the fact that they tried to do it, but you also like see the seams of it because it's a TV movie. This has no real excuse to be what it is. It's just like you had everything you needed and you did nothing with it that's exciting.
Yeah, it's
like it's not the worst Stephen King movie. You're not wrong there, because I've seen bad Stephen King movies like Dreamcatcher, that fucking what's that phone? But Mr. Harris's Phone from last year that was on Netflix. Good lord, that movie's
Netflix made a bad movie. No,
oh my god, it's so bad. Along with many others, because yes, the heyday of Stephen King movies really passed, given few exceptions aside. But yeah, this one being as boring as it is just doesn't help it at all.
I mean, I'll say the first half of Dreamcatcher is much better than this picture.
Why'd you love this movie, Brandon?
Oh well, let me get into it. So we started this summer with the Tommyknockers, which is much better when it was on TV. So you could have stayed at home and got way better than this. I like Max von Sydow here. He's being wasted by just limiting him to these scenes. Like he sounds like he's doing some like good work on like these like trailers. Like he sounds like he's got a trailer voice in this one, and I kind of dig what he's doing here. Where Needful Things works would have been television as an anthology series where each episode someone comes in, asks for a needful thing, and we get some horror story a la like Tales from the Crypt or Friday the 13th, the series. That's what this is. It doesn't work as a film. It's not, or you find a different way and stray from the source material to make it work as a film. And I'm just, like it's repetitive. I did like Amanda Plummer and her turkey farmer hating dog adversary was like, had this cool duel to the death. Like rooftop, all sorts of like, oh, okay, here we go. And then we're right back to someone showing up at the shop and fucking doing it. And nothing else ever reaches the high of the Amanda Plummer fight.
No, yeah,
and
it peaks there. Yeah,
she's one of the best actors in the movie doing her thing. I like her, and she's out by like the first act. And I'm like, God, well, who do we got? And Ed Harris, he's fine. He does the little like Point Break Hot Fuzz thing with the shooting into the sky, which is funny. But yeah, this is just like the setting's dull as shit. Like I know this is like a King type setting, but nothing going on. Yeah, Walsh, he knows the gig. The score was good in this. I like the score. I thought the score delivered pretty good. 3-hour version. No, thank you.
I dare you.
Nope. That is a
Commentary?
thing. I am not needful for that thing. At all. But yeah, this was disappointing. I don't think I saw this bad. Like I was big on like horror and everything back then, but I think I was like sometimes they come back as bad shit. Like, and this has like production value, but it's like just like someone didn't know what to do with the money. Like I feel like the resources, everything's there, and it's just like this is dull. But Bonnie Bedelia looks bored as hell in this movie, and she gets some compelling stuff to do, and it's like, it's like about making the whole town like angry at each other. Which what is the thing where like all the people got mad at each other and tried to kill each other in a town? I've seen it before, done better, like this concept of people getting angry and fighting each other. It's like the Batman Begins where all the people that's one of the things. I know there's something else where people get angry. That was like a thing, but yeah,
like the crazies or
the crazies, yeah.
or any number of like virus breaks out and everyone goes nuts.
And it's just I don't know. And the solution to it, whatever. Like it's.
But like the solution, so it's literally like he shoots his gun. Everyone's like, "Oh, what?" Like what? That's it.
Loud sounds.
Really got carried away there.
Yeah. So this is not and it feels like forever. And yeah, like I thought it started out, I was like, okay, let's see what okay, cool, the fight, and then enter store, get item, tragic thing happens, repeat. Enter store, yes, and then you get like Max Saito, he had to have been bored, just like, okay, so I walk around into frame and sit down again, and then just compellingly look over at them as they enjoy the thing. Yeah, that's what I do. Oh, okay.
Heston's involved with this. Yeah, Heston's involved in this. Yeah.
This did inspire something much better, which was the logo font for Stranger Things was based off the Needful Things logo. So there's that. It has that going for it.
Both things.
They're both things. Oh, and do you think, in his heart of hearts, that Stephen King thinks this is better than Stanley Kubrick's The Shining?
Oh, I'm sure he does a moonwalk every time he looks at Needle Things. Yep, they nailed it.
Yeah. Oh,
finally.
Got it. But yeah, I just sorry, son of Heston. Like,
I liked your Treasure Island.
Oh, that's nice. Couldn't convince your. What if Charlton Heston was the Max von Sydow character in this?
You got to take some of these things off my hands.
Like, oh my gosh, get Dad in here to play that guy. But
wear this necklace; it'll change your life.
Wear it down to
or shop somewhere else.
Yeah. Why you want to shop here?
And I mentioned the discounts.
Needful Things is angry people. It's angry people. All right. Were the people needful?
The prices are low, but you pay with your life. Unless you shop at Bob's, in which case the prices are low and there's no curse.
Oh, Bob's. Curse free. All right.
Shop local.
The only cursing is the F word. All right. So, Scott, were people needful for the things this weekend at the box office?
No. Wait, wrong chart. No. It's definitely not. The Fugitive was #1 yet again for the 4th weekend in a row, earning $14.5 million, dropping just 20%. Which again, ridiculous legs. $111 million at the end of 28 days. By default, Needful Things was the top grossing new release of the weekend. Although there's a caveat I'll get to in a second. The film opened to just $5.2 million in 1,963 theaters. It would top out at $15 million. That's a bomb. Hard Target would drop a hearty, unfortunate 50% for $5 million in its second weekend, coming up to 18.5. Because, I mean, A, Jean-Claude Van Damme had a fan base, and B, I would imagine people not used to John Woo probably thought Hard Target was a little weird for a Van Damme film.
It's also,
but they would get better. They would learn.
The top 4 films here are very adult heavy too, so there's a lot of competition.
Man Without a Face would open in 4th place with $4 million, but only 865 screens. So it would have a nearly double per screen average of Needful Things. It would earn. I'd open on a Wednesday, so it had $5.2 million. So if it opened on Friday, it would have been the top opener. It would eventually earn approximately $37 million worldwide. A good solid number. Number 5, The Secret Garden.
Kicking ass.
Shit, Warner Brothers has 1, 2, 3, 4 movies in the top 5.
Oh, wow.
Jesus. Anyway, Secret Garden, 3.3 million minus 22% for an $18.2 million 17-day total. Jurassic Park still kicking around, minus 22%, $2.9 million for a $311 million end of 12 weekend total. Number 7th place, we've got Rising Sun sticking around, $2.8 million, minus 30%, 52.7 after 5 weekends. Number 8 in the Line of Fire, at $2.6 million, dropping just 24%. Again, you had really strong legs for these holdover pictures, because that's just the way these things work back then. Except for Hocus Pocus, because fuck that movie. That was in 11th place, dropped 46% in its 7th weekend. But that's skipping around a little bit. In the Line of Fire had $93.7 million at the end of its 8th weekend. 9th place was Free Willy, 2.2, minus 27, $63 million. 10th place was Good Old Sleepers in Seattle. 10th place, 10th weekend, $2 million, minus 20%, $109 million and counting. And that is the top 10. The top 11, if you count.
We have 3 of our other films, too, like Only the Strong.
Fuck. I have to look this up now.
Only the Strong was in 14th place with 1.2 million, above Fatherhood at 15 with
$3.2 million.
Yeah.
It would eventually earn $3.2 million. Okay, I'm assuming they just stopped bothering after the opening weekend.
Yeah.
Because who will we fucking kill?
I can't believe Only the Strong top Fatherhood. Look at that battle.
Yeah.
Oh, they're about top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a better trailer.
Shut up time. What was the best movie of the week?
Of the week?
For me,
this weekend.
I enjoyed Thing Called Love more than all the others.
Oh, Man Without a Face is the only good movie I watched this week. So, yeah, that.
Yeah, I would agree with Aaron by default.
Yeah, so. Yeah. So, and one of our
shitty penultimate episode.
One of our next week movies placed in the top 16, but we'll talk about that next week. So yeah, that'll do it for the weekend that was August 27th through 29th. A 5-film memorable things where we had the polite disclaimer that Scott told us not to shop at Needful Things. Don't
shop anywhere else.
So Scott, where can they shop for you?
TheWrap.com. I'm on Twitter at Scott Mendelson, and that's about it.
All right, Aaron.
I am writing for Lead of Entertainment for movie reviews, Wise to Blue for Blu-ray and Criterion reviews. I host a podcast with my friend Abe called Out Now with Aaron and Abe. We talk about weekly movie releases and all kinds of other fun stuff. And I'm on Twitter, Aaron's PS4.
All right. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brand4KUHD, written work at WiseToBlue.com. Next week, the finale of the summer of 93 at 30. Our calendar girl tells us the time is up in California and time to take down the fortress of the son of the Pink Panther. So all that and more as the summer of 93 at 30 continues.
Wait. Is there a cliffhanger ending? Or is Aaron getting killed off tonight?
Cliffhanger already happened in May.
Yeah. Cliffhanger was earlier on in summer of '93, Scott.
I'm the last action hero, Scott.
Yeah. Will Scott shop at Needful Things?
No.
Tune in.
Anywhere else. He's from Akron, Ohio. That's he can't be trusted.
If you move around Akron, it like spells Satan somehow. Like that's what it's Necra, which means in some other. All right, come back next week. Summer '93 at 30 concludes.
It's the summer of '93 at 30.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. The Summer of and News themes by Pres Maxson. Additional information on this and other episodes at thebrandonpetershow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at thebrandonpetershow.com. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.